back on my balance board, doing my twists. Something that's really important when the Word of God says in Proverbs 11:1 that a false balance is actually, it's an abomination to the Lord. Adjust my glasses. That's true. God likes for there to be balance. Now, I want you to think about the culture that we live in today. Many times we think of our culture in terms of freedom or democracy, but democracy is built upon the premise, especially in our nation, of plurality, or pluralism, meaning that there's many different belief systems that abide under the same umbrella. That's why our government never chose to embrace any religion, although most of the founders were Christian, or at least deists, but the majority Christians, and many of them pastors. They chose not to embrace any particular form of religion, even Christianity. Again, they were believers, and our nation was founded on many of the principles that we find in the Bible. But they chose not to do that because many had suffered persecution under authoritarian or kings or governments that had suppressed the opportunity for others to speak things that were different or to believe things that didn't go along with the state church, and so on and so forth. And we've seen that in many parts of the world. Certainly the majority of the world lives under the cloud of the Muslim faith that does not allow for even the ministry of the gospel. It has to be done in a subversive way, or you face imprisonment or even death. So it's important that we understand that. And one of the beautiful things about living in a pluralistic society is that everyone has the right to say what they think or believe. Now, I believe that's being challenged today. I think that we're being told, or we feel like we have to kind of coalesce and go along with what others are telling us is what's acceptable. And I think this began, during the time of the COVID, when people were just told that they would, bend the knee and honor, and that would be it. You couldn't question. Well, let me just say that one of the things with us as Christians is we're not looking to rule the arena of thought and speech. We're not trying to tell people what they should believe or how they should act. We're just looking to have a voice, because we believe that in the marketplace of ideas, Christianity and its belief system stands out. It produces great character and incredible results in the lives not only of those who acknowledge it, but extends out into their family and into the community itself. This is why Jesus Christ literally, didn't spend all of his time tearing down the system. He just simply ministered. I'm not saying he didn't disagree, and I'm not saying he wasn't forceful with his disagreement at times, but he simply ministered, and that life drew people. We do the same. And from that viewpoint, please, when the Word of God says in 1 Peter 3:15 that we have an answer, we learn the Word of God so that we can have an answer for the hope that lies within us. We need to learn how to speak to people in a way that's kind and represents the Lord that we worship. When Paul speaks in 2 Corinthians 10:1 of he's encouraging people by the meekness, and it says literally the gentleness. The word speaks of a non-judgmental attitude of Christ, where he knew what was right and wrong, but yet he understood the price that would be paid, and he drew people to him. Can you imagine being in his presence? Being a person who understood their inadequacy, their sin, and yet being accepted, even though the sacrifice hadn't been made yet. He understood the value of his sacrifice, even before it had been accomplished, even before the work was finished. And that attitude drew people. in the midst of an environment where so many people are telling you you can't say certain things, or you can't believe certain things, or you can't have certain opinions, or you can't express yourself, I just want to encourage you. Learn how to say what you and I believe in kindness. Because if we can do that, if we don't resort to anger or some semblance of a demeaning spirit, belittling others, even if we're right, if we can live as Christ lived and speak as he spoke, if we can speak the truth in love, we can touch a lot of people. I had a conversation a few months back with someone regarding the issue of Israel and the Hamas and what had gone on, and just to be able to share in kindness and a different perspective, it was amazing to have the interaction and not just be in an argumentative mode, and to see the effects of that. Not everyone's going to respond in such a way, but on our part, when the Word of God says the servant of the Lord must not fight, in 2 Timothy 2 and verse 24 and on, he's speaking about word arguments. Must not argue, but be gentle, apt to teach, putting up with the hardship, the mistreatment. If perchance, you're just waiting for that Spirit of God to use your testimony to be a means of convicting the other person regarding their beliefs, their attitude, the facts that we live by, the life that is within us, the truth and reality of that unseen life that lives in us becomes evidenced to them, and it convinces them of that same truth. So we're in a very interesting time with politics booming and elections coming. You're going to hear a lot of things. Make sure that when you speak in the Spirit of Christ and not in the spirit of the age. Till next time, friends, God bless you.